thing that I hated about the king in particular. Welcome back to my channel, guys. We're going to review today Queen Charlotte of Bridgerton story, and specifically I want to talk about the Queen and Lady Danbury because I think that they were the only two really interesting characters and the main characters in the show. So specifically I want to talk about these two characters and what it was like being a woman and how it translates to how women feel and are treated even today. Even though we've progressed so much as a society worldwide, to be honest, there is still a lot of elements that are in the show that are very true to life today as well. So starting with Queen Charlotte, the thing that I noticed with her was that with her compared to Lady Danbury, she was raised to serve. Serving who, I don't know. And she didn't know either. She just knew that she would at some point probably have to serve, and she was very hesitant and resistant to this. So in the first episode, we see that she has been engaged to the king and she has no idea who this person is. She knows nothing of their customs and traditions. So while she knows that she's meant to serve, she doesn't necessarily want to do that because she challenges it constantly, and she's upset when her brother tells her that she has to marry the king because that is her role and her only duty to the country is to give her life to serve. And unlike Lady Danbury, which we'll get to later on, she wasn't raised to serve a specific man, and also she was raised with some liberties that women aren't typically given, as alluded to by the brother, who says he took too many liberties with her, and that's why she is very rebellious and she knows too much and is too educated, etc., which she probably still had to fight quite a bit for that as well. And he even says that he takes fault for the fact that she's too resistant. And the thing about Bridgerton that drives me insane is the huge contrast between all of the men and all of the women in terms of their social extracurricular activities. The women know nothing, do nothing, say nothing, and then the men have like 100 kids out of wedlock, right? And it's totally fine and it's so accepted. It just does not sit right with me at all that there's like no consequences. And you see that later on when they show that the queen in present day time has so many illegitimate heirs to the throne, but they're still trying to get one legitimate heir. Like, it's so embarrassing. I just can't. But going back to Queen Charlotte, the main purpose her brother tells her that she has is she has to be married and maintain ties and be a good wife and make sure she has kids, and a lot of them, so that the lineage can continue on. And I think what's so frustrating, and it reminds me a lot of stories that I've heard about as a kid of how people are lied to before they get married. And it's so funny. It's not funny at all, sorry. But it's just really frustrating, actually, how the queen is lied to, Charlotte at the time, is lied to about the king and how he has basically mental health issues, and no one told her anything about this. And the response she gets when she decides to confront the queen mother is that, well, I would do anything for my child. You have to understand that this is just how it has to be. And it's just so frustrating to see how this happens to this day too in all parts of the world, where people will lie or refuse to give out information that is otherwise very important. Oh, it just wasn't asked, or you know, they just sugarcoat it in a way so that they can get what they want, which is, for example, to marry their child off in whatever way or to a specific type of person. So in this case, the reason he wasn't getting married and he was isolating himself for so long was because they needed to find someone that would be able to deal with his situation, which I think is really interesting, because I would think at that time that anyone would just put up with the situation. Any woman at that time would just put up with it because of the status that you're getting, and also that is how a lot of them were probably raised at the time. So I don't understand why it's so difficult for them to find someone that was like agreeable, and they did such a bad job of finding her as someone that would be agreeable. She was in a position where she needed to continue to stay in this situation for her country, and that is what was ingrained in her. And she was not wrong when she said that she was lied to by literally everyone in the castle. Every single person hid this information, including the king, and then she is feeling frustrated and all these feelings because she thinks she's doing something wrong, and then she finds out afterwards it's actually the king and he's the one that's got issues and not her, and everyone's making her feel inferior and like she's not fit to be in the position position that she is in. And we see later on, and even in the other seasons, that she just handles everything because the king can't. The other thing I found really frustrating, also keep in mind, I'm just saying like a couple of random things that really bothered me or that I found interesting in the show, because I just cannot get my thoughts in order because there's just too much at the same time. I literally just finished the show. But the thing that I hated about the king in particular was the fact that he had the audacity to be like, you know, you can just leave me. It's fine. I'll understand. And I'm like, I hate it when shows do this because they try to make the characters seem like they're willing to sacrifice everything for the other person's happiness and whatever. And it's like, you're not doing them any favors. Like, you literally are making their life hell. Like, yeah, they should go, but do you understand that given their situation, they can't just walk away from it? Like, I don't. He's like, yeah, you can leave. What is she supposed to do when she leaves? She's probably gonna be killed, or I don't know what happens at that time. Like, what is she supposed to do when she leaves? Right? Like, now she's technically used damaged goods, but yes, she was a queen, but now her status goes so much lower because now she's not a queen. What did she do wrong? And obviously they're gonna make her seem like the bad person. It's not gonna go easy or well for her, especially in that society at that time. Obviously, I don't know all the details of that time and of this fictional world that they've created, but what the heck? Like, we know it's not gonna go well for her. It's not an easy, smooth transition that you can just walk away from the monarchy, right? Like, I just don't understand. I just really hate it when shows try to make the character or the other love interest or whatever seem like this noble person that's willing to give up their own happiness or whatever. It's like, no. And they try to go back and forth and show what he was really thinking when he was upset and everything. And I get that. Like, I understand the reasons that they were presenting, but still doesn't make what he did okay, given the situation that she was in. Like, she just got married and she was just told all these things, and in their few minutes of meeting each other, he seemed like a great person. Then he totally flips and is like, yeah, see, I'm gonna live in a different, like, palace somewhere else, I don't know where, and she's just supposed to forgive him. And I just didn't understand. She kept trying and he kept messing up, and it kept going back on her, and she kept having to deal with it. And then when she finds out about his issues and what he's been doing, she still has to be the one to save him. Like, she's saving him constantly. Like, a king could not do anything for himself. Oh my god. But anyway, going back towards the fact that in Asian culture and Desi culture, like, all of this is a reality, I think, for the most part. Yes, some cultures or some parts of certain communities are more progressive, I guess, but this is very real, where you find yourself in a position where the mother-in-law is like, yeah, my son has all these issues. We didn't tell you because, like, I'm a mom and I care about my son. And when you have a kid, you'll understand too. And I'm like, that doesn't make it okay for you to be deceitful. Like, what? I cannot deal with it. It was so frustrating to watch. And the last thing I want to say about Queen Charlotte's situation was the fact that I love how this show, like, everyone loves the show so much and is so obsessed with these characters and these relationships and whatever. And I'm like, these dynamics, if you presented the same thing but with a group of people from a minority culture where they are actually practicing similar things, honestly, if it weren't for her country, I think she would have been out a long time ago. That's just my opinion, okay? Like, she had to sacrifice herself for the country, but honestly, at the same time, I feel like she wasn't thinking for the country. She was very much thinking just about the king and her relationship with the king as a couple. She wasn't thinking of the country. She was just like, what the heck is going on? She didn't have time to think about the people, which leads me to Lady Danbury and how she had to basically push her Queen Charlotte into getting her shit together. Between the two of them, I think I definitely liked Lady Danbury more. I think Lady Danbury had a tougher life situation. She was married to this man and was raised and basically engaged to him since she was 3. The first thing I want to say with Lady Danbury is that it was really unrealistic that she didn't marry Charlotte's brother. I think it was just for plot, but realistically, for her time period and the situation she found herself in, she should have married the other person, because what were her options otherwise? She would have ended up on the street if it wasn't for Queen Charlotte's random act of kindness, which is really just to tie up loose ends, to let her stay a lord and lady or whatever. Anyone in that situation would not have the liberty to be like, I need to be free and live for myself and everything. You're just thinking of survival. So it was just so wrong and felt so out of place and so forced. And I was thinking, like, how is she going to get herself out of this situation to get to where she is in present day? And I was just so disappointed. so disappointed. Like, I knew realistically Queen Charlotte is probably going to be the one to save her because she was a good friend, but I was just like, I wasn't feeling it. I was not feeling it at all. I feel like it was so forced. I understand that she recognized that if she got married again, she would just be unhappy in a very similar situation again, maybe with a more attractive and more age appropriate person for her, but she was going to be in the same cycle, which I think is a thing that a lot of women feel when they think about marriage. So it's fair, but I just don't think she had the liberty to even think like that back then, given her situation. But the thing I liked about her, unlike Charlotte, she used her position in power to move things forward, not just for herself, but also her community in general, for the minority group of people. I think it's really ironic how the queen really was not doing anything. She was literally just a showpiece and she was just concerned about her marriage. But at the end of the day, she could not get focused until it was Lady Danbury that brought her to focus, that made her realize the position she's in. And so it was Lady Danbury that really saved the kingdom. She secured her own position. She secured the position of all the other people that became lords after. And she did all of this despite being constantly talked down to by her late husband, Lord Danbury. I love that they did this despite the fact that he had status. He was treated like a less than person, but within his own household he knew that he was the man and he could take credit for everything, and he did because he just felt like he had the right to it. He thought he was so much more than he was, and of course when he went outside the reality would hit him, but inside his home he could be whoever he wanted to be. So I'm not surprised that he took advantage of Lady Danbury both physically, emotionally, and socially for his own gain, and then also conveniently took all credit for it. I think any person in that position, regardless of what type of minority they are, then and now, would do the same thing. And his commentary throughout the show where he's just like, yeah, I'm the best, or I'm the man, I did all of this, or like, this is all because of me, because of how good I am and whatever. Like, I think it was very appropriate. It was not out of place at all. And I've definitely seen people do this, men do this in relationships because they just need to feel like the man, even though they're really not. My only thing would be that they didn't necessarily need to show him as an old, unattractive man to get the point across. It just fits the image, I guess, more. But honestly, this could be applicable to any man, whether they're attractive or not, young or not, otherwise been successful or not. It was just really sad that she had to go through all of that, but I liked that she still did her best to persevere and try to move things forward, not just for herself, but for her people or other people like her. Overall, I would say that I did like the show, and I think that Lady Danbury was interesting. Queen Charlotte was just there for plot and because we were overall interested and curious about what was up with the king and their love story. Honestly, I didn't think it was a beautiful, amazing love story or anything like that. I feel like it was definitely a marriage of convenience and necessity for them. So those were my thoughts on Queen Charlotte and Lady Danbury. Definitely like Lady Danbury more, but they both had their own flaws and weaknesses, and I feel like honestly they should have focused more on Lady Danbury. It was more interesting to learn about her than the Queen. Let me know in the comments below if you thought Lady Danbury was less interesting than Queen Charlotte, which I think most people will agree with me, but we'll see. If you'd want to, if you're watching You, I have done a review for the previous seasons over here. I don't normally make videos like this, so if you like them, definitely let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.